I want to start with a quote from my pastor, Bishop Paul S. Morton, in a book he wrote called Changing Forward. And in it he says, although we may desire change, the need to stay in our comfort zone minimizes our chance to put it in. Let me make sure I have that right. And he says that minimizes our goals, achievements, and overall success in life. Now, for me, a couple of years ago in middle school, I played in the middle school marching band, and we partnered with the high school marching band to go to the Battle of the Bands, big event. And so on our way there, the band director decides, you know what, let's cut back on funds. Let's just have them walk there and walk back, which is a bad idea in the first place because playing an instrument requires a lot of air, right? So we go to the place to play and everything goes well. I'm having a lot of fun there, but I'm getting tired because I'm using all my air, right? And so on the way back, man, I'm marching, man, because we had to march back all the way. So we're marching, and I noticed that I'm slowing down. It's no longer a march. It's more of a, like a, I'm getting tired. And so I'm stopping. And if you're in the band, and the band I was in, you would get insulted if you were pulling back. And so the band, man, you blanketed. You know what the blanks mean. Don't act like you don't know what a blank is. And so luckily, my superhero came in, and when my mom does this, it's some trouble getting ready to go down. And so mom came in and she was like, hey, Mr. Band Director, come here. You see my child down here? Somebody need to help my child. Or it's going to be some trouble here. Come here, child. Pick up my child's tuba and take it back to the band now. And so people started moving. They started getting in line. And so the next thing, my mom takes me to the doctor because this was a change for her. She's never seen her child out of breath, running out. Because she's at that time, I think it was about 13. So 13 years old, I'm struggling, and she's scared by this. And so we go to the doctor, and the doctor says, ma'am, I'm sure you're aware, but your son had a heart murmur when he was born. Well, the good news is the murmur closed up. That's a hole in your heart. But the bad news is it formed a muscle in his heart. So he's going to have trouble breathing. I suggest he have surgery. And so he went through the risk of the surgery, and of course there were a lot of risk in it and very scary risk. And my mom sat there and she heard it, and she didn't say anything. She just sat there and looked, and she just nodded her head. And on our way out, I was like, Mom, what's going on? What's going to happen? And she said, he don't know what you're talking about. Craziest doctor I ever heard. We don't need that. But the next 6 months, we went to almost every doctor in Atlanta. We went to doctors outside of Atlanta, and everybody was saying he's got to have the surgery. He's got to have the surgery. And I was waiting on her to say we got to have the surgery, but everywhere she went, she wasn't accepted. And so as a Christian, she prayed for those 6 months that God would do miraculous healing in my body. Nothing happened. She was like, okay, God, come on now. I know you hear me, Lord. This is my child. Nothing happened. And so at the end of those 6 months, I decided that it was time that I say something because the last doctor we talked to, just blew up. He was like, well, ma'am, I know you love your child, but if you don't have the surgery, he could die. Do you want that? You want a dead son? And so she was like, well, no, I don't want that, doc, but it's hard for me because even if he has the surgery, he's still in a risk. So after we leave the doctor, I'm thinking, well, you know what? If we have the surgery during class time, I get to get out of school. And so I decided to try and talk my mom into it. I was like, hey, Mom, I think that surgery is a pretty good idea, You should consider it. I think, and whether the doctors do it or God does it, it's still a miracle, right? And so she said, well, you know what? If you want it that bad, we'll do it. And so she set up the appointment with the doctor to talk about what happened. And to my surprise, it didn't happen during the school year. She decided, she comes back and she says, you know what, baby? I talked with the doctor, and he said we can actually plan it after you get out of school. So your whole summer, you can go and have that surgery, and you won't miss any classes. That was a change for me because that's not what I was expecting, right? And so after the surgery, everything went well, and the doctor said if I ever write a book on miraculous recoveries, I have got to include your son in it because never have I seen a patient have surgery one day and the next day he's up walking the halls like nothing has happened. And so my mom was so happy, and she cried, and she was like, oh my goodness, this is the most beautiful story I've ever heard. And but can you imagine if she had thrown away that change, like she mentioned earlier about keeping the change and telling your waitress, keep that. With all the change suggestions she had been given to make a change, and someone who she loved someone who was so near to her heart. Can you imagine if she said, never mind that, disregard that? And so my message to you today is, if you are in a situation, no matter if it's a car or a job, I know sometimes change can be aggravating and upsetting, but if you throw it away, imagine the opportunities you could lose on it. So my word to you is keep the change. And I'm Edward Perry. Thank you.